One can't look to preview the year without looking back. And the year that was for South Africa was plagued with issues of low economic growth, high unemployment and corruption, gross mismanagement at both government and corporate institutions as well. So what will it take to create an environment that bolsters business confidence in the country, with institutions such as Eskom seemingly getting away with both mismanagement and corruption? Joining me with more detail, with their perspective rather, is Busisiwe Mavuso, who's Chief Operating Officer and member of the board at Business Leadership South Africa. Busisiwe, thanks so much for joining us this evening. So to what extent has BLSA started this year off with a jaded view on South Africa's path to correction, where already we've had Minister Lynn Brown defying expectation by reappointing Machela Koko to the position of Head of Power Generation at Eskom?
Absolutely. So we are very encouraged about what we have seen in terms of the start to the year so far, especially in as far as the economic outlook is concerned. It's actually been very quite positive. I think we have seen after the December ANC conference, we have seen the rand that has strengthened and that continues to be stable. Actually today I was listening to the news and I see that the JSE All Share Index has reached a 60,000 rand mark, which is a number that has not been seen since October 2017 pre-ANC conference. So all those are indications that the market is actually watching. It's watching with hope. So we actually, or rather the market is happy with what they've seen coming out of the December ANC conference, and there is actually positivity, and a whole lot of encouragement from both the business community and the market at large to say that it seems as if there's going to be good things coming out, in 2018.
You've got to be feeling frustrated, though, that all the noise and, the noise making and the talking doesn't seem to be amounting to much where it matters, in corners like the situation regarding Eskom, for example.
Absolutely. So this is where the ANC is going to have to get their house in order. So we're hoping that with the new election of Cyril Ramaphosa and his leadership, we're going to see those changes that are actually going to come out. So what is going to be very key is the upcoming January 8th statement that is going to be held on the 13th of January, because that is the statement of intent. It basically tells us what the ANC intends on doing, what are the interventions, the changes that they intend on effecting, and to what extent are those going to actually be impacting the economy. Well, actually, obviously, there's going to be the SONA, there's going to be the budget speech, but we obviously know that what comes out of the January 8th statement is going to be a huge indicator, because we know since the ANC is the ruling party, they've got a lot of influence in terms of what goes on into that SONA. So we're hoping that things like the current issues in the SOEs. I mean, there is the issue with the SAPC today, with all those are actually very discouraging. I mean, as the BLSA, we have called over time to say that the Eskom board and executives are actually going to have to be fired, and they're going to have to get competent people who are going to actually lead those SOEs. So those are the kind of issues, where there are actually gaps and where there are leakages that the ANC is going to have to fix, so that we can really start seeing a clear way forward and a positive way forward.
That is the hope. Yes. If it doesn't play out according to what you expect to see. We've seen, forums like AfriForum take on the likes of Gerrie Nel to take on cases they feel is in public interest. We've seen Outa, Magda Verzishka, CEO of Signia, as well as private sector players go to the court. So using the judicial system to right some of the wrongs. Is that, a level that BLSA is willing to approach, and a step they're willing to make next?
That definitely is not in our conversations, but what we're busy doing and are finalizing is an economic recovery plan that we plan to present to the current leadership of the ANC in terms of what we think are the things that they should be focusing on to ensure that the economy is spun around when we start seeing positive growth. So there's actually a few things that we think that, need to be focused on to actually quick wins that the ANC need to start looking on. So the legal side, no, that's not not what we're going to be pursuing, but rather a more positive, intervention, to say that this is what our contribution is as business leadership, and we think that should we do these 2 or 3 things, we'll definitely see positive changes.
What kind of response have you been receiving? So from government on the one hand, but also, as BLSA, you've reiterated your call for this complete overhaul of the Eskom board. Have you received any response to that statement put out today from Eskom specifically?
So we have not received that, but I think we all know that that has been as a result of the political shenanigans at play, So we're really hoping that, I think the whole country, the world has been looking forward to the ANC December conference, and we're hoping that with this new current leadership, we are then going to be able to engage meaningfully, to actually maybe can elaborate to say that if we don't fix these things, what are therefore the implications that the country is going to have to be facing that are actually going to be dire for both business and the country at large. You're currently seeing that capital investments, by business has actually been low, and for the first time, you're seeing consumers that are actually holding back on their spending as well, because we actually don't know what is happening. So we are saying that for business and consumers alike to can actually be able to start spending both on capital and consumer goods, we're actually going to have to make the right decisions as the leadership so that people can actually gain that confidence to say that things are in the right direction.
Some of the decisions that have been made have been around inquiries needing to happen. How are you rating the success of these inquiries? Watching how the Eskom inquiry played out, many would have thought it was a slam dunk case, and it wasn't. And I ask this question because the next inquiry that people will have their eyes on, ratings agencies will have their eyes on, is the inquiry into state capture.
Absolutely. So if you put aside the inquiries and you look at what has happened in December, and as far as the constitutional judgments, that were concerned with regards to the Hawks, the Nkandla issue and so forth, those have actually been very encouraging. So those are actually saying, number one, we've got a judicial system that is still independent and that actually is actually capable of making the right decisions, and that has not been captured, as it were. And so it gives us all hope to say that what we're going to see going forward is actually going to be very positive indeed. So the inquiries in themselves also have this underlying message which says that no one is law upon themselves. If you're going to be found on the wrong side of the law, you are indeed going to be called to actually account for the decisions that we've made, and we've seen that with Lynn Brown, and it has actually, I think, the positive outlook started at that time already to say that, so if we actually can have ministers hauled in front of an inquiry to can actually answer for the decisions that they have made, so there is really hope that we're going to see good things coming. So all those are positive, and we actually encourage that those should actually continue, because people cannot be making such decisions which are dire for the entire country without actually being held to account.
Hope for that to be playing out, or for that to play out, but with the right recourse as well. Let's leave it there, Busisiwe. Thanks so much for having joined us in studio this evening. Busisiwe Mavuso is Chief Operating Officer of Business Leadership South Africa.